this is the very first Good Ideas Salon in Scandinavia, so this is also very, very cool that you guys came. I think this is a good sign of the possibilities of things to come based on the panel here that we have. It's a very, very diverse panel in terms of the type of entrepreneurship that I have tried to connect together. I will introduce myself. I'll introduce these guys. Well, these guys will introduce themselves very, very briefly, and then we'll go to it. And then we expect that you're going to be very, very excited and very, very engaged and very, very involved. So we'll have a great hour and a half left. Also, that's also part of the rationale for having you guys go and like get smoothies and talk a little bit, so you're not embarrassed to ask questions. So now you're all friends, and now we're very comfortable, right? My name is Lori Webb. I have a company called Indspark, and Indspark, for those of you who don't speak Danish, which, yeah, it means to inspire, to motivate, to kick in the ass, essentially. And that's exactly what is my plan with my company and what I do. This is an example of what I'm doing, of trying to add some Indspark in Denmark and in general for entrepreneurship, is by doing this Good Ideas Salon. It's a collaborative event with PSFK, which is a trend bureau out of New York, who started these Good Ideas Salons. And so Denmark, I believe, is the 6th city. Not Denmark, is the 6th. Copenhagen is the 6th city to be involved in this. So this is also really cool because the idea is to just spread it, give people a chance to get together, have an expert panel or a group of people who have a certain perspective on things, talk to them a little bit about a certain topic, today's topic, entrepreneurship. Also, since it was just Evac Denmark's largest entrepreneurial trade fair, then it seemed like a good idea to do this. We had the opportunity to have some special guests from the States, so we decided to do it now. Yeah, that seems good enough. I'm going to introduce our esteemed panel. We will start to the far right here with Scott Bradley. Mr. Scott Bradley, would you please present yourself?
My name is Scott Bradley. I'm from California, and I recently just started a company, Rapid Results Marketing Group. And how I fit into this panel's equation is that I worked with Mike for pretty much the past year and a half and helped him build his entire web presence and managing so on and so forth. And so I'm going to be kind of briefly talking today about the social media equation. If you want to ask direct questions on how we work with Mike's book, I'd be more than happy to share. The results have been obviously very positive, and I hope to contribute in that fashion.
Oliver Maxwell.
Good afternoon. My name's Oliver Maxwell. I'm British, but I live in Denmark at the moment. My background is that I was training social entrepreneurs in England for several years before I moved here. And now I'm working with the Centre for Social Economy here in Copenhagen, where we specialize in working with social entrepreneurs and social enterprises. That's people who have a brilliant idea that can have a social impact on the world, but instead of starting a charity or an organization where they get money from the government, they make their money from businesses. They start businesses. So many of you might have heard of Specialisterne, the organisation that works with autistic people, or Hus Forbi, a newspaper for homeless people, or Jamie Oliver, the British chef that trains people in how to be chefs. These people are social entrepreneurs, and it's their perspective and their needs and their brilliant social impact that we try and unlock for Denmark and for local communities.
I'm Mike McAlowitz. I'm an American entrepreneur. I've grown 3 multi-million-dollar companies, 38 now, I did 2 before I was 30. I'm author of this book. This is what Scott was referring to. And what I do now is I like to travel mostly to the US, but also Jamaica, and now Denmark, and spread entrepreneurship. I believe there's nothing greater for any of us than starting our own business. So I hope when you all leave, by the time you leave, you can start a business.
Yeah, my name is Happy. I'm from Ghana. I've been here for 20 years old. I've started I'm an NGO called Global Faces. And what we do is we arrange events, family picnics, and then the leftover we do a just in a third country. So we're going to talk about how the new modern way to, instead of sitting home and paying $0 to help people who are in need, we want you to come and party, and at the same time we help those people who are in need. So before we leave here, I know you'll be coming to one of my events, and then you'll see how and you see how things goes. Thank you.
My name is Brian Trout. I'm also American. I live in Denmark. I've been here for about a little over 13 years now. I started a company called Eco Green Living Made Easy. We're a green lifestyle store, but also do consulting, helping businesses green their business practices, and also startups, how to start your business ethically, environmentally friendly from the beginning. So I can already see there's really a lot of good overlapping and possibility for combining experiences on the panel. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Okay, so that's our panel. Okay, we're going to start off with a fairly basic question, but some comments from the panel. Since they have different perspectives, I will also apologize in advance. While I am a woman, I was actually attempting to get a Danish woman to, kind of really fill out the whole, I really thought I was covering all my bases. But unfortunately, the Danish women were busy doing Danish things, and they could not come. So, and maybe it was also because they didn't have such a long notice. So anyway, so I am not, if we're out, if you guys are thinking, why are there no women up there? It is, okay, except for me. It is because that's kind of what happened, but I have thought it into my plan, and I think also it'll be very interesting to hear what these men have to say about women entrepreneurship as well. So we will be going into that. And now I will do the little commercial. If you have mobile phones, feel free to turn them off now. We'll take a little break. All right, everybody good? Watch, mine's gonna start working, actually. Oh, I'm not even kidding. Yeah, okay, there you go. So, everybody has been hearing about entrepreneurship and, oh my gosh, the economy is extremely bad. What are we doing? People are losing jobs, people are afraid, people are losing houses, people are losing this, that, and the other thing. Is it a good time to start a business?
Who do you want to start?
Please!
All right, I'll start. Are you crazy? It's the worst time. No, I kid. So this
And why?
Okay, so this economy, and I study entrepreneurship intensively, is the best time historically to start a business. There's many reasons, but the main reason is the psychology of humanity. And when things are bad, we believe things will continue to be bad. And when things are good, we believe things will continue to be good. And we can see in any stock market, when the stock goes down, everyone starts selling, even though we know logically that's the best time to buy. It's too scary. When the stock goes up, people should be selling, but most people are buying. And we get these, especially in the New York Stock Exchange, these bubbles. And then the economy, what happens today, happens. But the irony is, no one's starting a business now. People are shutting businesses down. There's people being fired, terminated. People are running away, and existing businesses are saying it's too tough now and giving up. That's a down stock market. This is the best time to start a business. It's cyclical. The economy will recover. Things will get better globally. It may not happen overnight. It may take some time. But the people that start now will do the best. And there's a parable, something that runs similar in nature, and it's a forest fire. They happen all the time, particularly in California. When the fires come through, it burns all the big trees. All the dead wood on the ground gets burned up, and all the garbage gets taken away. But the seedlings, the startups, can plant their roots at that point. And when the sun returns, they grow the fastest and are the strongest. The global economy is a burning forest fire, but a lot of the dead wood, I'm telling you, is already gone. So now's the time to plant your seed. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take a lot of work, But it never was easy. It always took a lot of work. But if you plant your seeds now, I assure you, I've been there, you will do very well in the long term. You'll probably do far better if you start today than if you start 2 or 3 years from now.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to ask Scott, if possible, since Scott works with social media. I'm thinking, Scott, can you come up with ideas? Do you think that in this economy, in this particular situation, leveraging the tools of social media?
Well, I think what's really interesting is that, you know, with more people being unemployed, they're trying to find a way to spend time as they look for jobs and figure out, okay, what am I going to do now? And a lot of them, especially in the States, are turning to these tools. And really, in the end, that's where your consumers are. And when it comes down to using and leveraging, with money being tight, marketing budgets being slashed, you can really effectively use these tools to build these communities of people with all these like-minded interests. So say, for instance, you have a salon or you sell beauty products. You can create groups in Facebook, you can put out content relative to being more beautiful. And in the end, where, you know, typical marketing budget is, okay, I'm gonna buy 5 commercials, I'm gonna spend X amount, and I'm gonna reach this audience, with no guarantee, you can use these tools, especially in a recession where more people are now and spending more time, to build a community, and by building the community, you get access to them and you're able to control them and share your company on the back end as you serve them with really good content that you yourself can create, or you can find elsewhere and share with them at the same time. But in the end, it all comes down to continually providing value.
Kind of in the same vein, thinking directly with your businesses, because I'm thinking also the other 3 that haven't spoken on the panel right now. How do you feel that the development of your businesses as you're trying to reach out, because all of yours have an element of being also above your own income level. How is the economy affecting the way you're able to do business right now?
I think it's really interesting answering that question and the one before. If you start at what the conditions are like right now, at the causes of the crisis that we've got, you can see that a lot of it is about a kind of a moral crisis almost in the financial sector. That a lot of these big banks and these big businesses and all of this horrendous corruption and waste that's been going on in these huge financial crises that happened over the last year is about businesses that have exported like all of their activities and all of their finance activities into these completely abstract and surreal financial exchanges that go across completely distanced from human activity. And I think what people are looking for now is a more social angle, and I think we've seen that certainly in the organisations that we work with. There's basically kind of 3 trends that are going on which are really supporting organisations that want to start social enterprises and social businesses right now. One is that people who run charities, NGOs, Frivilligforeninger, small local groups, they want to start business to become more stable. They want to start organisations where they can start selling a product or a service that can help them solve social problems in a more stable way, in a more independent way. Problem is that many of these people don't really understand how to start a business or the whole practical side of doing it. The second trend is that businesses themselves, not just the big ones that have been involved in these financial scandals, but also the smaller ones, they want to be more social. They want to reroute themselves in local communities. There are lawyers, architects, graphic designers, professionals of all kinds who not only have more time on their hands because their businesses are going down, but also have a new desire to actually get more involved in their local activities and contribute their resources to social enterprises. In terms of, I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about in terms of professional advice and support, information about how you actually run your business. And of course, the third thing is that the public sector, governments, they're finding their budgets are being squeezed as unemployment is rising, as the costs of supporting people through the recession are rising. They're looking for new ways, new, more innovative ways of spending their money. And again, that can very often be about supporting organisations that have a business angle and that can support themselves. So if you look at the general conditions that are out there for starting social businesses, they've never been better. And part of what our organisation is doing is to help entrepreneurs actually access not just the kind of financial resources, but also unlock their ideas by working in partnership across sector in these conditions.
You have anything to add?
I think that also building on that, the consumer is also changing their habits. And the people who are expecting services and products, they're changing their habits. And this is happening in a number of different ways. And this is also maybe because of the times, but also because of the economy. And they're putting new demands on businesses and expecting that businesses maybe are a little more ethical or a little more sustainable, or the products that they're getting are also, this is a big trend. And sustainability is a lot of different things. It's not just, maybe an organic apple, but it's also how you build your business. And I think that incorporating these things into sort of a new way of looking at it. It's hard times. Everybody knows it's hard times, but you get a dream, you have an idea, and that's not going to go away. So in these hard times, we opened right before the, if you want to call it that, the bottom fell out of the economy. But that means we're working harder to make it through. It's happening because we believe in what we're doing, but it's sustainable growth. It's functioning and making things happen in the environment we're in, and planning and working with what you have. And trying to say, okay, what are the needs as a business? What are the needs for the consumer is asking for? And piecing this together sort of in a new way of doing business, I think. And so timing with the economy and, looking at, the situation, what's the ground like, in this fire for planting the seeds. It's all coming together right now, I think. And the economies are restructuring, the people are demanding new things, businesses are operating differently. So I agree it's a good time to be on that edge and to think differently and to go with it. And if you have an idea, see if you can make it happen now.
Okay. I have something, did you have something
I
to
was just
add?
going to say, you were talking about how consumers are changing the way they interact with businesses and research products and or buy something. And I can relate to that extremely well, where for me, being a Generation Y, and I'm sure some of you can relate, where for me in this day and age, if a company doesn't have a Twitter account, they don't have a Facebook page, you can't get opinions about their products from people on these mediums, it's kind of not as good. And from what I can see is, you could pull up a Twitter search and type in a product name and immediately get 10 pieces of feedback or more on, oh, I love this product, or I hated this product, or I love this movie, or I hated this movie. And what's interesting is that those, whether it's a trending topic on Twitter or whatever, it affects they haven't been direct correlations, but a prime example, did you guys see the movie Bruno? You guys know about that movie? Well, there was talk about, the reviews of Bruno on the Twitter search, if you just typed in Bruno, it was like, don't even go see it, don't even go see it, don't even go see it. And from the ticket sales, the first day it was the typical boom, but the next day it was less than expected, and they felt that was a direct correlation in Twitter to the results of ticket sales. So the more you can get your people and or your customers talking about what you have going on with your products and find a way to integrate them, not only are they going to be more loyal, they're going to build more trust with you, and they're going to be more likely to share it with your friends, with their friends. And that in turn creates a viral product sales that you want. So,
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. You're elaborating on the consumer behavior during the crisis. What do you see will change, if anything, after the crisis in terms of consumer behavior? Are we setting a new standard here with the crisis that will carry on? Anyone?
I think that we're setting new standards now. And I think because a lot of things are happening now in Copenhagen, the big talk is climate because we're hosting the climate summit and whatnot. But that's something that was independent of the economic situation. This is this other trend that's sort of happening. People are becoming more aware and setting new standards for business in general, for the way we live. Then you have this crisis, which is setting new setting into motion new ways of thinking about how we're living and how we're spending our money and how we're doing things, whether you're a business or whether you're a private person. So these are like massive dynamics, and I think they're hitting. You know, so what's going to come out of it is, I think, either an incredible mess or a new way of thinking that's going to be around for a long time.
And I'm a bit on that one, and that's why it's like I start the global faces. Because like, I mean now, because of the crisis, everybody wants to, like, I mean, now it's hard for people just to give out. So it's like we invited people to two events. So it's like they will get something out of, I mean, instead of like going to bank and you're taking some zero and pay to a kid in Africa. But here it's like, now it's very difficult for everyone to take 100 krona, 200 krona. So we use events just to bring them out and get something out of it.
I can kind of build on what you're saying, Happy, is I think the packaging, the way things are delivered, particularly in America, is going to change. I recognize that packaging is about 80% of the cost. You buy this book, it'll come with boxes and all these different flares and exciting things. But I think things are going to be packaged differently, similar to this, as opposed to just give us your money, it's going to go to some government, and the end benefit for the one child in Africa is going to be 1/10 of what you submitted. Now there's these efficiencies where when you spend 1 krona, it goes all the way to that child. But I don't think it's only in not-for-profit organizations and giving organizations, but also for-profit businesses. We as consumers, particularly in America, are going to, but everywhere, are going to want less. And it's fun as I travel Europe, you guys already get it. We don't. But you get it. Walking down a hallway, of course the light doesn't need to be on until I'm in there. So I walk down a hallway and you're spending electricity only 1% of the time. Come to my city, we're spending electricity 100% of the time and no one's there. So I think, particularly in the US, we're recognizing the efficiency in packaging and that you don't have to have this